Jones, Chael Sonnen, Tuesday were named coaches of the TV show The Ultimate Fighter, which also means, of course, they will enter the cage against one another in late April. Let's bring in ESPN MMA writer Brett Okamoto now with more. And Brett, describe the chain of events that led the UFC to the decision of having Sonnen get a title shot against Jones.
Well, there were a few of them. According to UFC President Dana White on that conference call on Wednesday, a big one was Jon Jones suffering an injury in his last fight against Vitor Belfort. As we all know, Belfort almost caught him with that armbar in the first round. Now Jones is out until April, and the UFC figured if Jones is going to be on the sideline for that long, we might as well put him into the reality show. Chael Sonnen had stepped up and requested to fight Jon Jones on 8 days' notice when Dan Henderson went down with a knee injury in late August for that September 1st fight. So when Chael Sonnen did that and offered to take the fight, according to Dana White, a lot of fans got behind that matchup. They were still calling for it. So now you have a situation where Jones was going to be on the sidelines. You can enter Chael Sonnen. You can have them on the reality show, which Chael Sonnen should be terrific on reality TV. And then you can have him fight in April.
What about Dan Henderson, Lyoto Machida? Weren't those two of the top contenders? And wouldn't Henderson's knee have been healed for a shot in April as well?
Yeah, it would, and that's why this matchup between Chael Sonnen and Jon Jones is drawing some criticism from UFC fans, because it just doesn't feel like Chael Sonnen has earned it. Dan Henderson has definitely earned it. He went through an incredible fight with Shogun Rua. That fight was way back a long time ago at UFC 139. He earned a title shot with that fight, and now he doesn't get it because he injured his knee. And a lot of people thought that he could have been in that reality show spot against Jon Jones, but the UFC decided not to do it that way. They want Chael Sonnen on the reality show. Dan Henderson will fight Lyoto Machida at another date.
You asked UFC President Dana White point blank if he had considered Henderson to coach in the Ultimate Fighter show. What was his response?
Well, he basically said no. He said that he didn't even know if Dan Henderson would be interested in coaching the Ultimate Fighter. Dan Henderson had done it before. From what he said, it didn't sound like those two had spoken about it. It just seems like that there was enough interest from the fans in this Chael Sonnen fight that the UFC decided to go ahead and skip over Dan Henderson, keep him active before that April dateline, have him fight Lyoto Machida. The winner of that will presumably fight the winner of Jones versus Sonnen.
Despite Dana's response, as you mentioned, a lot of fans feel that Sonnen doesn't deserve a title shot in the light heavyweight division. But one thing we know, he's good at talking himself into fights. One fight he talked himself out of, though, against Forrest Griffin, UFC 155 in late December. So who fills his shoes?
Yeah, I asked Dana that as well. Will Forrest Griffin stay on the card, and have you found him a new opponent? And Dana said he believes that they have. But it's not official yet. From what I'm hearing, there are three options out there. There's Stephan Bonnar. That seems like a pretty quick turnaround. We know that Stephan Bonnar just fought Anderson Silva. He wanted to fight Forrest Griffin, but that seems pretty quick. The other two names I've heard are Phil Davis. Anderson Silva. He wanted to fight Forrest Griffin, but that seems pretty quick. The other two names I've heard are Phil Davis and Brandon Vera. So I believe it'll be one of those three. If I had to guess, it'll be between Vera and Phil Davis. We'll take that spot.
He's ESPN MMA